Hey, welcome to the process. My name is Dr. John Bush. This is lesson 6A. This is my block of wide receiver positional analysis. You should look at the quarterback, running back, tight end. Again, this is a foundation that I'm providing. Okay, this is not who to draft necessarily. This shows you kind of the baseline of where you should start your thinking and research. Okay, we're not too analyzing the ADPs and values and things. Dennis has got his weekly value stuff going, so you can check that out. So it's a little premature in my lessons from getting to that point. I just like to understand the nature of the positions, what's gone on. That inspires me to think about some tiebreakers, some things to look for. And again, it's probably at the personal level. What strikes you when you go through these lessons, right? It may not be what strikes me. Keep your diary. Make note of some things that I note, and just kind of follow along, saying, Bush saw this. How real is that? Okay? So you need to consider that. So let's start off with slide 1 here. Let's see what we got. Numbers. We're looking at wide receivers in blue. We're looking at running backs in red. And these are over time. So, and then I did a ratio of wide receivers to running backs in purple. I just was curious about what has changed since 2000. Wide receiver numbers that are getting snaps and activities. Teams are diversifying their passing more, gadgets, situational. So, for 2023, you cannot rely on one size fit all. Oh, here's the number one. He gets everything all the time. There are suites of specialized wide receivers, three wide receiver sets, short yard. I mean, there's all sorts of probably beyond what I understand about planning a game, right? I'm not a coach, but I do see this, and the game has really changed in the last 23 years. So that probably in some way dilutes the wide receivers, or the ones that can do it all, right? The so-called bell cow wide receivers probably have more value than they did. Okay, is anybody talking about that? I don't know. I hadn't heard it. Okay, so just keep that in the back of your mind here. Let's see what I did. So, this is overall metrics, 2000-2022 from top to bottom. Average of receptions, yards per reception, reception yards, rushing, fantasy points, and the numbers of wide receivers. Check that out, 163 in 2000 in the league, 244. Wow, 80 more. Okay, you don't think points. And notice then, 73 average fantasy points. So that means that on average, the points should get distributed to more mouths. Okay, so if we were playing in a different time, there would probably be more bell cow wide receivers, so the picking and choosing would probably be a lot easier. It's a lot more sophisticated game now. I colorized the data. Anything you see as red is 23 low or yellow. And so the highs are blue, green, and purple, right? Blue, green, purple. So I just like to kind of see what's going on. We are definitely, in some ways, because of the lack of numbers, as far as fantasy point averages, the golden era was 2000, 2004. Look at that. 90, 100, 90, and now we're in the 70s, maybe hitting 80, but it's been a while. 2017, things have even changed more radically. Okay. Look, we were in 2013 and we've gained 31 since 2017. So they've kept adding the wide receivers. Okay. So what has changed? Look at the rushing yards. We're getting more specialized. I mean, we're not talking tremendous amounts, but per wide receiver, we're getting more rushing out of them than we ever have. Pay attention. But we're getting less reception yards, less yards per reception, and less receptions total. So as a group, just overall, if you just randomly pick, it's not going to be the same as if you were picking years ago. So you just need to be aware of that. I mean, so I think that gives us opportunities to dig in to try to find those specialized situations. Things like best ball and whatnot. I think you need to understand these gadget players, these rushing wide receivers, these three set wide receivers, the short yardage, who's getting a lot of touchdowns. Some of these things are out there. It's just, here it is, folks. I'm telling you to go look for it. So, average receptions, yards, and rushing. And let's see, reception is blue, I believe. Rushing yards, purple, and yards per reception in red. So, receptions have not gone down a lot, but look at the average has really kind of roller coaster, but never has made it back to the golden era, the age 2000, 2004. Rushing has come back up recently, so be aware of that. So I just plotted that data. I mean, it's nothing secret here. Fantasy points have gone down because there's more wide receivers to feed, and reception yards per wide receiver have gone down as well. Okay? So you're going to have to work harder. Okay, so I guess that's another takeaway. You better work harder. Okay, just, taking the old ADP sheet and flipping it around is just not going to cut it. Why be like everybody else? Be something different. Okay, folks are not aware of this, right? Of course, if you ask this on Twitter, all the experts come out, oh yeah, we all knew that. That's, we know that. Okay, do you? Okay, so just be aware of experts out there. Okay. How about fantasy points and wide receivers and comparisons of the fantasy points? And it is very clear that running backs and wide receivers have decreased from the year 2004 or something like that. The ratio, though, of wide receiver to running back fantasy points has really gone down. So that's what's been hit more. Look at the ratio here from about 2017. It's about 1. And we just haven't seen that. Okay, look, it was skewed in favor. Even in the old days, it was in favor. Wide receivers, fewer of them, they were getting more points as a group. Now we can't say that. It's almost pretty much equal now. So that changes the calculus of things. So it's good to see this stuff. And it just shows the ratio. I just plotted the ratio in orange there just to see that it has gone down since 2017. There it is. Okay. And you can see that the pattern of wide receivers was really high. Look at the versus running backs. So we dropped and we kind of almost coming back a little bit, but wide receivers are going down. So they've met now. Okay? Be curious in the next 5 years what this, are wide receivers just going to keep going down, get more specialized? That's going to change how you need to draft, folks. So I'm warning you now, we've got to watch this metric. So you're saying, is that why you do some of this every year? Folks, it's not some of this. This is a large amount of my hours. Okay, everybody talking about the grind out there. These folks don't know the grind. Okay, I've been grinding since February on this stuff, and I'm doing stuff that, look at Twitter, see something like this, who's talking? I don't know. Well, you're paying site X and Y. Why are you paying? Professor giving you for free. Here we go. Just freebies left and right. Dennis is giving you all his goodies. It's just a land of free. I know you don't want to tell your league mates. I see how it is. Okay, so another way to look at it is percentage of the top over 23 years. 2000 was running back. We've got back to, it stayed, we've come back. Check it out. We were in the 70s, 2012, hit the 80s, 2016. Now we're close, mid 80s, closer to 90% of value. So value is starting to come back. Wide receivers, look at that. We have completely almost 30% loss in value. Sadness. Folks, this is going down. Okay, so it's getting harder and harder to make a living with your wide receivers as a group. I know you're good in your diary. Hey, if your diary says don't pay attention to me. What do I know? Here it is, the percentage top. You can see the wide receivers are just crashing, and running backs, not so much. They've been gaining back. It dipped a little bit last year, but look at the pattern. They were almost synchronous until about 16, and then, boom, baby, the league changed on us because they started adding tons of wide receivers. How come nobody's not talking about this? Here it is. Okay? People, you can, here's the data. Okay? Anybody can do analysis if I present them. Here it is on the plate. Can you chew the steak here? Come on, folks. Come on. Wake up out there. Okay. What time? 13 minutes. Yeah, I'll go a little further. 2022. I split the end of the season production, fantasy football average production, into quarters of the pie. The top, the best wide receivers are in the 75th to 100 percentile. That is the sweetest piece of the pie right there. The next is 50th to 74, then 49 to 25th, and then the dregs. The worst piece in taste of pie, 0 to 24th. And I track the changes over time. I did each row, and green is the top 30 percentile and red is the bottom. So you can see 2021, we are living in the bottom here. Even the sweetest part of the pie has not tasted so sweet in the last few years. So there it is. And then there's the average, which we already have kind of clued in on here. But it's very clear that this part of the pie and this part have gone down, significantly. We're in the worst that's been in 23 years. Let's see. Rank distribution. Here is, if you just look at the populations, this shows the top part of the pie. They're in a level of their own. So somebody says, well, what kind of wide receiver do I want? Oh, I want the top 25%. What about the next pie? Look how far down it is. I mean, I understand it's better than, here's the worst. But look at this gap. It is not linear at all, folks. It's about 2/3 better than this crew as a group. So here's your key players right here. And, just be aware that it's not linear, especially later in the draft. Okay? You just can't hop, skip, and jump and find something. It's just, this data's just, that is not the case at all. This is the box and whisker. The box is 66% of the observations. The whisker tops and bottoms is 99% of the population. So you can see the range, the top and the bottom of this part of the pie versus here. So we're talking the top is 221. The top of the next pie is almost 100 points less. So yeah, it's very, very significant. Let's see, what are we doing here? Rushing yards. Sweet part of the pie. Things are getting a little bit better. Okay, look at 2021, 2018. So there's that suggestion. And we're even seeing a little bit more rushing in the second part of the pie a little bit. So it's not as clear cut. The story in rushing is doesn't have as much clarity as you might think if you segment it that way. Reception yards, clearly, even in the best pie, we're way at the bottom here. Okay, right here, 800 and something versus half of that. So you're losing half your reception yards, below the top 25 percentile here. So just be aware of that. And then here's half again, and this is what, a sixth or so, a seventh. So it's definitely not linear there at all here. Let's see what this is. This is, so I just wanted to know what was the proportion of the population that was above 300 fantasy points. And you can see pretty much 2% across the years. So that really hasn't changed. What about 2 to 300? That's gone down, folks. Look at 11, 13, 12, up to 16. And what we last year, 7. So half the show, 9, 10. I mean, we did okay, 11, but it's a lot of variation the last 5, 6 years, 6%. So 100 to 200 last few years. It's pretty sad. You could see the low here, 50 to 100. We're about average, and below 50, we're actually a little bit better in the last few years. But we're talking below 50 points. So what that's telling me is there's a lot more fringe wide receivers, which you would have predicted by the increasing numbers. And this data kind of backs that up a little bit. So I'm not sure, 2%, 7. Look at the proportions here. So 50% of last year was below 50. Okay. And only the top, 9% were 200 and above. So any wide receiver that can get you 200 points or above is in the top 10%. Wow. Are they the creme de la creme? So just be aware of that. What else is going on here? Where'd I go? Okay, just showing the different sectors. I just plotted it out. And blue is above 300. So we're a little bit increasing. This is below 50 here. Most of the percentage below 50. It's kind of increasing, but more wide receivers, you would predict that number to increase. Here's the top two. It really hadn't changed. Here's the next 200 to 300. It's gone down a little bit last year, but really slight decrease. This is staying the same. This sector is going down here. This is 50, 100 has gone down. And so we're seeing a gap here. It looks like these fringe wide receivers, they're adding here, and so the ones that maybe used to get close to 100 are now kind of getting half that. So that's what I see the big changes. These fringe wide receivers below 100, you're starting to get more of them getting fewer points for sure in that data. Okay, 20 minutes. That's my first lesson. We'll shut this down. I am going to, this is the next slide. That'll keep you busy, won't it? Okay, so thanks for listening. Come back for lesson 6B. Woo woo, we're having fun.